A famous Milton-Bradley board game comes to vivid life in the new adventure from Universal Pictures. Hello there everybody, and thank you once again for tuning into ReelScreenReviews.com. I am of course movie critic Nick Iacobucci, and our next movie review is Battleship. This high seas actioneer will open in worldwide release on May 18th, 2012. This is an early review. This film stars Alexander Skarsgard, Taylor Kitsch, Rihanna, and the always solid Liam Neeson. Battleship comes to us from producer and director Peter Berg, the director of The Rundown, Friday Night Lights, and Hancock. He once again turns to big action in a big summer movie, but this time he's bringing battleships, aircraft carriers, and anything else that will make our oceans explosive. This tale sees a couple of members of a couple of different families that are intertwined into a story involving action along the high seas and invasions from the skies above. A more than superior force is once again invading Earth, and it's up to our Navy and others to bring their reign of terror to an end. This struggle for survival will have these invaders attempting to rid the Earth of its natural resources. Wow, we've never heard that one before. Before this tale comes to a close, we will see a small band of naval ships making a stance against the powerful enemy and standing up for our planet and the good of all mankind. Well, people, I normally like Peter Berg as a filmmaker. I thoroughly enjoyed The Rundown, and I think that Friday Night Lights is well above average. Why? Because the depth of characters in those stories naturally brings out the drama. Here, however, he abandons any and all sense of drama, character development, and even linear storytelling. He is all over the place with this movie, and the only thing consistent about it is that he filled the entire feature with supermodels. How ironic Peter Berg has pieced together a movie based on a board game, because he has created what I would definitely call a bored movie. Now, there are very few things to even compliment when it comes to Battleship, but here it goes. The over-the-top action and special effects were very cool to see on the big screen, but there wasn't enough in it to save this feature. There were long and very boring spots in between the action segments with nothing to hold your attention when explosions weren't being detonated. The performances weren't terrible, it's just that the film itself is so underwritten. Actors can't create or develop sympathy, sincerity, or any form of character if it isn't written for them to do so. Rihanna, much to my surprise, wasn't terrible, but she as well as Liam Neeson really didn't have much to do in the first place. Also, Taylor Kitsch is once again as likable as he was in John Carter, but at least in John Carter he had the opportunity to bring to life a real person and character. Now, what I believe to be one of the biggest problems with Battleship is that it's based on a board game. When I was younger, myself and others my age grew up on a steady diet of board games. Trivial Pursuit, Scrabble, Monopoly, and Battleship always managed to find their way into everyone's closet, but nowadays children's bedrooms are filled with PlayStations, laptops, and iPods, and that being said, I'm not sure if many in the target audience are even going to identify with the brand name. To take it a step further, I never thought Battleship to even be that fun among board games. It was two people sitting in the same spot for a duration of time with very little happening, and anyone that figured to make a tentpole summer film based on that should have really thought the matter through. You know, I really hate to just shred a movie, but sometimes there really is just no helping it. I honestly respect that they cast real Navy veterans in the film, but just like the recent Act of Valor, this is nothing more than a big, loud, noisy commercial for how great the United States Navy is. It's not almost ridiculous in spots, it's actually ridiculous in many spots, and I, for one, really didn't want to sit through a 2-hour naval recruiting video. Battleship plays out like propaganda films of World War II, and that just got on my nerves. Okay, I know that most big action films are usually light on intellect, but in the simplest of terms, the technology used by the aliens doesn't even make any sense at all. To anyone watching with an actively working brain, you will find so many holes in the plot that you will actually just concede that it's part of the feature. I mean, think about that. Making no sense is part of the feature. They leave so many things open and unexplained that I just don't know how else we're supposed to take it. At 2 hours and 9 minutes, Battleship was excruciatingly too long, and I couldn't even wait for it to end. I really have never seen a movie where to describe it with the word dumb would be a compliment. Well, I guess there's Dumb and Dumber. This film, however, is not a comedy. What it is an exercise in the futility of brain activity and nothing more than a mental waste of time. People complained about the dialogue from the movie The Devil Inside going back to the first week of this year, but at least that dialogue from that film followed a specific train of thought. Some of the stupidest lines of dialogue that I have ever heard were spoken in the movie Battleship, and the only thing that they really connected was one uninteresting scene after another. To me, this was absolute dread that just got worse as it played out, and to sum it all up in one word, miss. Nick's Real Screen Review is placing this above, just above, avoid at all costs with a very weak 1 star out of 4, and that's for the adaptation of the board game Battleship. And remember people, I'm not always right, but only when it comes to the movies, and thank you for your attention.